can't begin to tell you how huge this song was when it came out in the year 2000. Independent women dominated the charts, transformed Destiny's Child into a supergroup. Michelle Williams, who just joined the group, went from an everyday college student to a celebrity, practically overnight.
Let me cater to you, 'cause you're beautiful. I love the way you are.
Michelle's career instantly took off, a household name the world over, but in the middle of it all, she was struggling with depression and anxiety. It's a battle that Williams writes about in her new memoir, Checking In. I recently caught up with Michelle Williams to talk about it. Now, just a heads up, we're going to talk about some sensitive topics, specifically thoughts of suicide.
So much of me is
I want to talk about the book. Tell me why now to tell this story.
Ooh, well, I wanted to help give people something to identify and say, oh, that's what it is. That's what I've been feeling, because I didn't have words for it in the 7th grade of what to put to it. I didn't have words for it until I was in my 30s. I was like, maybe I can tell people what I'd been going through that can maybe accelerate their plan of action.
It's one thing to be struggling and, be home on the couch. It's another thing to be struggling and have the world staring at you for the first time in your life. And I want to tell a little bit of that story. So you joined the group in 2000 after 2 of its founding members left the group. It really does change for you overnight. And I think it's important to establish that before we talk about what happens after. What do you remember about joining Destiny's Child?
I remember getting a phone call saying, hey, we'd love to meet with you. So I said, okay. But my plans were to finish college. And a few weeks later go by, they're like, hey, do you think you can get to LA to film the video for Say My Name? So I was like, what am I gonna do? Well, I got on the plane and went to LA.
say my name. No one is around you. Baby, I love you. Come and run and play. Say my name, say my name. You boy, say my name.
And it was like, there's a new member in Destiny's Child. And Say My Name was the beginning of a whole new life for me.
A whole new life of award shows, of interviews, of touring the world, of the stuff that people dream of. Yeah. How were you managing mentally during all that?
I was moving so quick, I didn't have time to be depressed. There was no time for depression. Depression was not on the itinerary.
When did it start creeping back in?
Now, it did creep back in maybe within my 2nd or 3rd year in the group, I believe. And I remember going to our manager at the time and I said, I think this is depression. I think I'm depressed. I was in a pit and I had to just step by step climb out of it, whatever you call it, or friends got a rope, and I credit my tribe of pulling me through as well.
What does that feel like when you're in the pit?
I talk about it in the book where it's like you just feel like you're just swimming in a sea of darkness. You feel hopeless. I was a little too comfortable with the thoughts of even suicide, I go into detail more in the book of the plans that I made should that happen.
It's terrifying.
Yeah, it was pretty scary. And it's something that family and friends did not enjoy hearing.
In 2018, you end up checking yourself into a treatment center. And what you decided to do when you did that was you released a statement about why that was happening. Why was it important for you to be public about it?
Oh, I didn't want to be public about it.
Really?
What happened was, while in the treatment center, I believe it was someone from TMZ wanting confirmation that I was in fact in the hospital. I didn't want it to come out at all. I don't even think I told my parents. I hadn't told family and close friends what was going on. People found out when the statement went out. It wasn't for people to know at the time. I eventually would have shared it, because I've been talking about the area of mental health since 2012. So it's not something that I've been shy about talking about, but that particular moment, I was like, wait, I'll talk about this one day. And that one day ended up being the very same week that I'm in the hospital.
It dehumanizes you. It keeps you from, because you're a public figure, that you are not experiencing the same grief and sadness and depression and anxiety that any of us can feel.
Absolutely, because, you know, at any other job, you wouldn't put it in the corporation's newsletter that so-and-so sought treatment. They're getting help for an addiction or a mental illness. That wouldn't happen. It would not happen at all.
What do you think you've learned in writing this story down and telling it?
That is like, girl, you are brave to get out here and do this, to take a risk of maybe people seeing you differently. At this point, I don't care. People have seen me in all type of different ways. Like I said, I've lived a great life. I've had a blast, but you know, sometimes you do evolve into a new purpose or a new calling. And I believe this is what it is for me right now.
Michelle, joining an already established group, getting ready for that kind of criticism, playing the biggest stages on earth, dealing with mental illness, speaking openly about it. The only word that came into mind as I was reading your book was courage, was
Wow.
bravery. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Lovely to meet you, Michelle.
You too. Take care.